in that movie, I'm telling you, you watch it, just have some tissue.
Hmm.
If you're a guy and you don't like crying in front of people, just get ready to get up and just walk away and go in the restroom or something.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it's a good movie.
It is. If it doesn't make you shed a tear, then then there's something
Something's
wrong,
wrong.
I think. Yeah, absolutely. Welcome to My Movie Story. I'm your host, Brian McAleer. This is the podcast where we dive into the movies that have shaped us. Each episode, we sit down with a special guest to discuss their all-time favourite film, the movie that changed their life, and the one film they think everyone needs to see. Get ready as we journey through the cinematic worlds that make us who we are. This is My Movie Story. My guest for this episode is Charles Banks. Charles is a family man, business owner, and movie lover. Charles has been married to his wife Paula for 24 years, and they have two sons, Elijah and Zion. Charles's business, Eion Beard Care, is all about giving men the tools to rock their beards. When he's not hustling with the business, you'll find Charles glued to the screen, soaking up all sorts of movies, but in his opinion, nothing beats the thrill of a good horror movie. Now, here's our interview with Charles. So welcome to My Movie Story, Charles. It's great to have you. How are you today?
I'm doing fine, and thank you for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Yeah, I've been really looking forward to our chats, and we first connected a few weeks ago, and you shared with me the movies you wanted to talk about, and I really like your enthusiasm and passion for these films as well. So yeah, it's going to be a really good conversation, I think. And but yeah, before we get to your movies, Charles, tell us a bit about yourself. Where do you live? What do you do for a living? Yeah, what would you like to share with us?
Yes, my name is Charles Banks. I'm from the U.S. I live in Norfolk, and I've been married for like 27 years. I have two sons, 22, 23, and 21.
Yeah.
And I currently work at IKEA, but I also own my own business. It's Eion Beard Company,
Uh-huh.
and I'm still trying to get off the ground. I'm focused because
Yep.
hopefully one day I can work for myself. That's
Yeah,
my
that'd be
biggest
nice,
goal right
man.
there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Tell us a bit about the business. What's your product, or what's your niche? What's it all
Okay.
about?
Right now, I have beard care products. It's for your beard, so to help you grow a healthy beard.
Yep.
For all the guys that's trying to grow a beard, help you. I have the beard oil, the balm, the conditioner,
Right.
and even if people have any questions about their beard and I can answer, hey, I'm here for them.
Fantastic. And do you create these products yourself, or are you like a distributor? Like, is how does that work?
I create them, and also right now I do I have an online store, but I mainly do pop-ups right now. And
Mhm.
pop-ups is like if somebody holds an event and I go there and try to sell my products and
Yep.
inform people about my products.
Yep.
So I just have to make sure I got the gift of gab so I can just talk to the people, give them as much information as I can,
Yep.
and hopefully they fall in love with the product.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, yeah, I hope that goes really well for you. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
personally, I have never tried to grow a beard myself. I have very slow growing facial hair.
Yeah.
And I only have to shave every like 4 or 5 days or something. But yeah, you never know. I might give it a go one day. It's like, yeah, I can't picture myself with a beard personally, but if I guess, is there a product there that might help my facial hair grow a bit faster?
Yeah. You know what? When a lot of people use stuff that I don't suggest, like minoxidil. The
Yep.
stuff they use for your hair, for your
Okay.
hair. I don't. They try to use that, but I think when they say like beard growth, I think the main thing that the stuff do is stimulates your hair growth. Because if you have if you have spots in your hair or your hair, like you say, your hair grows, it's not going to make it just grow miraculously, just get puffy. And I
Right.
think that's the misconception that a lot of these people be giving
Yep.
customers.
Okay. Okay. So better to just let it grow naturally, and yep.
Yeah, sometimes you got to go through that rough stage. That's the hardest stage.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair
When it
enough.
just look crazy,
Yep.
that's hard.
For sure, absolutely. Well, it's definitely in Australia. It's they're definitely more popular now than ever. I think beards, and All kinds of beards and, different shapes and, you know,
Yeah.
different forms and all of that kind of thing. So yeah, it's a definitely a thing over here as well. You know, all the best with the business. I hope it takes off for you and, you can work for yourself. It's definitely the dream. I'd love to be able to just work for myself the whole time as well. But I kind of have a
Yes.
part-time job, plus I do all my other stuff on the side. So yeah, it'd be nice
Yeah.
to work for yourself and we could just watch more movies as well, which would be good. So
Yes, that's I wish.
absolutely. All right, cool. So let's dive into your movies then, Charles. So you've brought a few very different films with you to our podcast today, a couple of which are well known. People have heard of them, people have seen them. They were big landmark movies. One that might be a bit of a lesser known film. It was one that I hadn't seen before. So you've introduced me to it, or at least reminded me that it was there, and I've watched it, and it was fantastic. So three films, and I'll get you to introduce each film for us. And the first one we're going to talk about is your number one all-time favorite movie. And it is hard to choose just one, but I got the impression from you that this film is number one and there isn't much other competition. It's like right up there
None.
for you. Yeah, so yeah, please tell us, Charles, what is that movie, and if you could just set it up for us.
My all-time favorite is Pulp Fiction.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration? Get down, get down.
You got a corpse in a car, minus the head in the garage. Take me to it.
Don't you hate that?
Hey, what?
Uncomfortable silences.
John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson, Uma Thurman, Harvey Keitel, Tim Roth, Amanda Plummer, Maria de Medeiros, Ving Rhames, Eric Stoltz, Rosanna Arquette, Christopher Walken, and Bruce Willis.
Looking at something, friend? You ain't my friend, looking.
Die, you mother!
A new film directed by Quentin Tarantino. Pulp Fiction.
You really thinking about quitting?
Most definitely.
What you gonna do then?
Basically, I'm just gonna walk the earth.
What you mean walk the earth?
You know, like Kane in Kung Fu.
Pulp Fiction, Pulp Fiction. Yeah, so one of Tarantino's early films from the 90s. Yeah, tell us about seeing that for the first time. Do you remember watching it for the first time?
Yes, the first time I seen it, I love Samuel L. Jackson.
Yep.
Awesome actor. And I seen him in it, and I said, you know what, let me check this movie out. And once I checked it out, I love the way Tarantino, first off, is a star-studded.
Yep.
He has a lot. He has Harvey Keitel, Tim Roth,
Yep.
John Travolta,
Mm-hmm.
I believe Uma Thurman.
Uma Thurman
in it too.
Yep.
Yeah, she is.
Yep.
You got Ving Rhames,
Absolutely.
Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Yo, you can't help but love this movie.
Absolutely. Yeah, he got a
And
lot of stars.
Yes, and the way that he directed the movie, because maybe I'm looking at it kind of different, but it seems like it was three different setups, and everything just came together all of a sudden at the end. It just blended together, and I love movies like that.
Absolutely,
because you would think it's going one way, and the thing about it is like and one thing I really love about the movie is the suitcase. They never show you what's in the suitcase.
No. There's a lot of rumors online about what was in that suitcase. Yeah.
Yes, they never show you, and I'm like, what is it? You just see a bright light.
Yeah. Do you have any theories as to what was in that suitcase?
I think it was some gold.
Gold. Yeah.
Yes.
I heard this other rumor online that it was Marcellus Wallace, played by Ving Rhames. It's his suitcase.
Yeah.
Apparently, it was his soul, that they were carrying his soul in the suitcase, and that's why it was glowing. But I don't know. That's one theory I've heard online, which it seems a bit far-fetched, but you never know. Tarantino has never revealed what was in that suitcase, and he never will. He's sworn to secrecy.
Yeah, that's the best thing, to keep people talking about it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and you mentioned there like the three different storylines and how it all came together, and really there hadn't really been a film like Pulp Fiction before it came along, right? And it was not, it was a very non-linear kind of storyline, and it really took Quentin Tarantino's career and shot it right up there, because
Yeah.
he broke all the rules of cinema. Like, I remember watching this for the first time with a mate of mine, and then the story of Bruce Willis trying to find his watch, and he goes back to his apartment,
Yeah.
and John Travolta's
Oh,
there, and he
I
kills him,
forgot
right?
Christopher Walken. Yeah, and Christopher
Yeah,
Walken in it too.
and Christopher Walken, yeah. But then later in the film, John Travolta shows up again, and I must have missed something. I'm like, hang on, he's dead. What's he doing back here? And I thought he'd come back to life, and then it took, I was like 14 when I first saw it, so it took me a while to figure that out.
Yeah, because it seems like he'll put the ending somewhere in a certain part in the beginning. Like he just switched it all around. Because Travolta got killed coming. Yeah, he got killed. Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you see him again in another scene.
Yep. Yeah. So it was it was really interesting how he chose to tell the story. And then when you go back and watch it, you can be like, oh, okay, so the beginning is actually the end. And we see the middle portion from, these different perspectives, and then he brings it all together. And that kind of became like his, his signature style of making movies, didn't it, for Quentin Tarantino?
Yes.
After that, yeah.
And that's Quentin Tarantino is my oldest son's favorite director.
Yep. Fantastic.
He loves him. Yes.
Yeah.
He swear he's the greatest director ever to ever come out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, every film he brings out is something new and something different. And yeah. Any honorable mentions for other Quentin Tarantino films that you like? Because they're all good, obviously, but do you have a few other favorites?
Do that. I was thinking the Grindhouse movies, but he didn't do those. I forgot who did that.
He was involved. Yeah, he was involved in the Grindhouse. That was
he was involved with the
Death Proof and
with the
Planet
first
Terror
one, right?
together. Yep. Yep. He made Death Proof, the one about the guy that drives the car, Kurt Russell. Yep.
Man, my wife loves that one. I like the Planet Terror. My wife loves.
Oh yeah, Planet Terror. Yeah.
And the female.
Yes. Yeah, that was Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino came together and made these two films that were released at the same time. That was the Grindhouse thing. Yeah.
And you know what it is? I just like the way it looks also, because it has that old style to it.
Yep. Absolutely.
And especially on Planet Terror, like they had it like the film had popped and then it went back to, I love that. I love the way he is a good director.
Oh, absolutely. His films have a very gritty kind of low budget look and feel to them. Like, I mean, he made his very first film, Reservoir Dogs. It's all primarily set in this one room, like in this warehouse. And yeah, like it was amazing what he was able to achieve.
And that was a crazy movie too.
Sure was.
That was a good one. Because Harvey Keitel was in that also.
He was, yeah. Yeah, he showed up in a few Tarantino movies, yeah.
Yeah.
So with the Pulp Fiction storylines, obviously the first one is well, it starts off with they go to the apartment and shoot these guys and all of that. And then it goes to the story about
I think
John Travolta takes Uma Thurman out on the date, I think.
Yes, and then it goes to Bruce Willis,
the boxer, yeah.
After the boxing match, and then all of a sudden, then Rames comes into the picture.
Yep.
And another scene that I love in that movie is when Vincent, who's played by Samuel L. Jackson, when they in that diner with Tim Roth. I love that scene.
Yeah.
Because he wants to retire so bad. He just wants to. But when he asked for his wallet and he said, when he mentions what's on his wallet, y'all couldn't help but laugh.
Oh, classic,
every
isn't
time.
It? Yeah, it's fantastic. And he's talking to John Travolta about giving up the life. And John Travolta's like, what are you going to do? And he's like, well, basically, I'm just going to walk the earth.
Yep.
Like Kane from Kung Fu,
Yeah.
Get into adventures and meet people. It's like, the dialogue in this film is just brilliant, isn't it? Yeah.
And that's another thing I noticed about his movies, that they're heavy with dialogue. You got a lot of movies like the dialogue is not that much important in the movies.
Yeah.
But just like because I believe he did Inglourious Basterds too, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And that's a heavy dialogue movie.
Yes, very heavy.
Because at the end, that's when the action mainly really just goes through. My son loves that movie also. I
Yeah.
really couldn't get into it too much. It was
Yeah. Yeah.
yes, it was
A lot of his films can be heavy on the dialogue, you know.
yes.
Like because it's about the characters and all of that. But yeah, usually towards the end, it all just explodes in this off the wall kind of action, like with Inglorious Bastards and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and same sort of thing. You know, like it all at the end, it all
Yes.
just goes ballistic and typical Quentin
Yes.
Tarantino fashion. Yeah, and I don't know if you've heard this online, but apparently his next film, which will be his 10th film as a director, is also going to be his last film. Have you heard of this?
Yes, I heard he was saying like he planned on playing that, right, like 10 films
Yeah.
and that was it.
Yeah, he's
Yes.
planning on retiring as a director, but you know, I don't know. Like, I'm sure he'll stick around in some form or another. Like, he might just write or produce, or you know, or some producer might offer him like 20 million bucks, and he'll be like, okay, I'll direct another one.
And he
You know,
directed.
so we'll see. But yeah, yeah, I think Brad Pitt's going to be in his last film again. I'm not quite sure what the plot is, but yeah, apparently it'll be his final film as a director. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting, you know. There's still a few of his films
Yeah.
I haven't seen. I need to go back and watch, but I mean, Pulp Fiction introduced me to Quentin Tarantino, and yeah, like I said, I was about 14 years old when I watched it, and a
Yeah.
friend of mine from school had a like a pirated copy of it, like a dubbed videotape, and my
Yes.
mum didn't want me watching it because she'd heard it was really violent and all of this. So I had to go around to my mate's house and we watched it. And even his mum didn't want us watching it, you know. So we were watching it in his room and like listening out. Oh, here comes mum! Quick, turn it off. And we just
Yeah,
pretended we
yeah,
were
cut
playing
it
video
off.
games or something. And like I remember watching the film and some of the scenes in the film as a 14-year-old, you can imagine I was just like, whoa, like you know,
Yeah, he pushed the envelope on some of them scenes.
he really did. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, for the 90s, like a kid in the 90s, I guess everyone in the 90s, we hadn't seen a movie like that before, you know. It was crazy. Yeah. Do you have a
Yeah,
favorite
now.
scene from the film?
Yeah, just that the scene when they were in the diner and did that, that big dialogue scene with him and
Oh,
Tim Ross
yes. Yeah.
when he was, when he was ready to hang it up. He
That's
was
right.
ready to
Yeah,
hang
you
it
did
up.
mention that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, that I love that. I love that part.
Yeah, how he's able to talk Tim Roth down and eventually him and
Yeah.
his girlfriend just walk out of the restaurant. Yeah.
She was crazy now. She
Yeah.
I like Tim Roth is a good actor too.
Yeah.
I like some of the films he's been in also.
Yeah, he was good. I think that's the thing with Tarantino films is he chooses his cast very well. Like I think he always picks the right actor to play his characters. And I've heard that when he's writing a screenplay, he writes the character with an actor in mind, and then he then goes to the actor and says, "I want to give you this part." And of course, every actor in Hollywood's like, "Well, Tarantino offers you a movie, you don't turn it down." You know, they're all lining up to be in his movies.
And I heard Samuel L. Jackson said that in an interview about, I think it was Pulp Fiction. Because I think he tried to do one other movie. I'm not sure, but I know he said something about how he wrote a part for him.
Yep.
For I believe for Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he wrote for him in mind, yeah. And I think Samuel L. Jackson's been in pretty much every Tarantino film, hasn't he? Most of them, anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, most
Besides
of them.
the horror movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, because no, he won't in Dust Till Dawn. He do find a lot of good actors though.
He
For
does.
his movies.
He does,
Because
yeah.
George Clooney was in what, Dust Till Dawn?
Yeah, From Dusk Till Dawn, that's right. Which Tarantino
Yes.
wrote the screenplay for and had an
Yes.
acting part in as well. Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I mean, it's so great now we've got a Tarantino film featured on this podcast, you know, with Pulp Fiction. And anyone watching or listening to this, you know, hopefully if you want to be a guest, you know, there's lots of other Tarantino films we can talk about. So, you know, thanks Charles for bringing Tarantino to my movie story with Pulp Fiction. So we've started a bit of a trend here, I think.
Yes.
And yeah, a really great film. Anyone who hasn't seen it, you know, it's a film you must watch in your lifetime. Absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
Which kind of brings us to our next category, the film that you think everybody must see. So we might move on to that film now, if that's okay, Charles.
Yes.
And this is another well-known film from the 90s, a bit of a crime caper, has one of the best twist endings in movies ever. But don't worry, for anyone who watching or listening to this who hasn't seen this film, we're not going to reveal the ending. Charles and I had a little chat before, and we're sworn to secrecy, so don't worry. Plenty more to talk about those. So tell us, Charles, what is this film everyone has to see?
The movie is The Usual Suspects.
Fantastic.
I work for Kaiser Soze. He feels you owe him. He does not expect all of you to live, but those of you who do will have $91 million.
It was Kaiser Soze, Agent Kuyan. I mean, the devil himself.
I'm telling you, it's Kaiser Soze!
There is no Kaiser Soze. Keaton always said, I don't believe in God, but I'm afraid of him. Well, I believe in God. And the only thing that scares me is Kaiser Soze.
Yeah, what a movie, huh?
Yes, yeah.
What a movie.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
It's with five criminals. They went to they got hired by Kaiser Soze to do a crime, and
That's right.
something happens
Yep.
on the dock. And but the strange things about it, I believe no one ever seen Kaiser Soze, or if they've seen him, they never they never lived to tell about it.
That's right.
And Kevin Spacey plays the heck out of this movie.
Yep.
It's a good movie. It has so many twists and turns. The ending will mess you up. I'm just saying. You will be on the edge of your seat.
Yep.
And you might think you might know one thing, and then something else happened, and you have to watch this movie.
Absolutely.
You have to.
Yeah,
It's a good one.
Really good. Yeah, you've summed it up really well, and again, yeah, the ending will blow you away. You'll just be like, "What? I did not see that coming," and it's just so well done. Yeah, so let's go back a little bit. So this came out in the 90s. Did you see it when it first came out, or was it like a few years after that? Do you remember?
A few years after that.
Yep.
This a lot of times that me and my wife, we watch movies. It was before we had kids, and when you don't have a lot of money, all you got is movies to sit home and watch. Hey, that's what we did. We sat home and we watched this movie, and it really got us, because we thought one thing and we was like, what in the world? And it just had us stuck for a while, and and we're sitting and talk about a movie. We'll even pause it so we can talk about what happened, and we'll rewind it again so we can see it again.
That's right.
This is one of the movies, like, if you really love a good suspenseful movie, you sit down, get you some popcorn and a soda, and sit down and just watch this movie.
Absolutely.
And
don't move. That's it. And you'll be it's so engrossing, isn't it, from start to finish? Like, you don't want to walk away from it. Like, and again, like a Tarantino film, it has quite a bit of dialogue in it. This film, there's a lot of talking going on, but the dialogue is really well written. The acting is fantastic, and like you said, Kevin Spacey plays this character Verbal, who's sitting in a police station with this cop and telling him what happened. So it's kind of told in flashbacks about these five criminals who somehow meet at a lineup, decide to pull off a job, and then Kaiser Soze, this mysterious criminal from the underworld, calls them in and basically says, I've got a job for you, and if they don't do it, they'll die. If they do the job, they might die as well. So like he puts them in this really difficult situation. But that's the underworld, isn't it? That's the life of a criminal. Yeah.
And they got a lot of well-known actors in it.
That's right.
But I don't believe Benicio del Toro, he was not a big actor back then.
Yeah, I think it might have been one of his first movies, actually. Yeah. Yeah,
because he was still young back then.
Very young.
He was. Yes, it had a lot of good people in. It was a good movie, and like you said, the dialogue in this movie, it was exceptional.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And I think that's what really can make a movie. The dialogue, if it's good.
Yep.
And that one is heavy in the dialogue, and you won't get bored watching it.
No, not at all.
Some movies be heavy in dialogue, and you be like, I'm gonna just tap this fast forward button just a little bit to speed it up. No, you need to sit there and just focus on this movie.
That's it. And I think a big attraction of it is the underworld. You know, like we're all fascinated with these like larger than life criminals, gangsters, like movies like The Godfather and Goodfellas and
Yes.
all the kind of Scorsese stuff. Like we know these are bad people, right? They're criminals. They kill people. They steal, extortion, drugs, you name it. But the movies find a way to make them human and make them interesting, you know. And what the real turning point I found in the film is when the Kevin Spacey character starts talking about Kaiser Soze. So we can talk a bit about this enigma of Kaiser Soze, and we won't reveal the ending. Don't worry, anyone who hasn't seen Usual Suspects. Yeah, but tell us about Kaiser Soze. Like, who do you think he was, and you know, like, how important was that to the film to have that character that we don't really see or get to know?
Because that builds the mystery of, because you want to be like you like, it has to be somebody.
Yep.
And the way they do it, you was like, yo, it's man, I can't because I don't want to say too much.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Is it? I just like the way they did it, because I love movies when they don't show who the person is.
Mm-hmm.
You might think it's one thing, and then at the end it just blows your mind.
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
exactly what they did with this movie.
Yeah. A lot of movies today tend to explain too much or give it all away. And movies like Usual Suspects from the 90s, like, yeah, like you said, there's so much mystery there, there's so much unknown. And you know, you don't have all the answers by the end of it, but you're like, that's okay, you know. You're just engrossed from start to finish. Yeah.
And especially when you see the end, you're like, yo, this
Mm-hmm.
is crazy.
Absolutely.
Yes. I know I can't say too much.
Yeah. And I'll usually ask for everyone, and you know, when we talk about your movie, what's your favorite scene? I'm guessing it's probably the ending, but we can't really talk about it, can we?
Yes, it's the ending.
Yeah, it is the
Yes.
ending. It has to be the ending. Like this,
Yes.
the ending of this film is just is a masterpiece. You know, the whole film is a
Yes.
masterpiece, really. Yeah, and yeah, and it kind of it's one of those films that makes you want to go and watch like all these other crime films. You know, it gets you really into that sort of headspace. I find. Is there other sort of crime, gangster, mafia movies that you enjoy? Any other honorable mentions that you like?
Everybody's movie, Scarface, of course.
Yeah, Scarface. Yeah.
Yes. It's one movie. It's not a gangster movie. It's an older movie, but it's a good movie that I like watching. It puts you in that mind frame. I don't know if you ever seen it. It's A Dog Day Saturday Afternoon.
Oh, Dog Day Afternoon. I've never actually seen
Yes.
it, but Al Pacino, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
That.
There's a lot of those older
Good movie.
films I need to see, like the early Pacino and Robert De Niro films from the 70s and stuff. I've seen the Godfather films and you know a few other ones, but yeah, that's what I need to see. So I'll make sure
Yeah.
I watch that and we'll talk about it.
But you know what? It seemed like the older movies, they built the suspense up. Like you'll be on the edge of your seat trying to figure something out. Now, it seemed like the first 5-10 minutes of the movie, you can already guess what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't try to hide too much or try to build it up as much. It's like, I don't know. It's just a different feel when you watch the newer movies now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're made differently, and I don't know what's changed. I think maybe when the internet came along, and like if you had a movie like The Usual Suspects come out today, there's no way you'd be able to protect the ending. Like people would just go online and spoil the ending. You know, it's impossible
Yes,
these
it would
days
be on.
to avoid that. You just have to stay offline altogether. But yeah, back in
Yes.
the 90s, there was no internet. There was no one. You know, piracy wasn't really a huge thing in the 90s. It kind of came in the later 90s. But like, yeah, I think we went and watched movies because there were still movie stars back then. You know, that's what took us to the theater.
Yes.
And word of mouth. Like I've heard about Usual Suspects through word of mouth. Like all my mates at school were saying, "Have you watched Usual Suspects? Have you watched Usual Suspects?" I'm like, "No." And then in the 90s, in Australia, we didn't get cable until the 90s. Our cable here is called Foxtel, and that came in the 1990s. And pretty much it's the only cable station we have here. We've got all the streaming services, but we've got Foxtel. And we got that in the 90s when it sort of first came out. And The Usual Suspects was playing on Foxtel all the time, right? And I knew it was like rated MA 15 plus, so I wasn't quite old enough to watch it yet. But I told my
Yes.
dad about it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, everyone's telling me I should watch it." So I remember my dad went and watched it, and then he says, "Do you want to watch The Usual Suspects?" I'm like, "Yes," and he let me watch it. And then I went back to school, and then I started telling everybody, "You got to watch The Usual Suspects. Watch The Usual Suspects." Yeah, so it's definitely that word of mouth was very prevalent back then,
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Fantastic. Well, again, it's so hard not to talk about the ending with this film. I'm like,
I know.
we're both like biting our lips at the moment, like, yeah. We want to, maybe we
Yes.
could do a spoiler version of Usual Suspects one day, and we could dedicate a whole podcast episode to it if we wanted to, I think. But yeah, but
Yes.
we'll have to move on, otherwise we're probably going to ruin it. So
Yeah.
the last film now, Charles, that you want to talk about today, and this is the film that you said changed your perspective. And
Yes.
it's a little film from the 90s. Like I was telling you before, I knew about this film. I was sort of always on the back of my mind, I need to watch this film one day. And then you brought it up. I'm like, great, now I'm going to watch it. And I was a bit of a mess afterwards. I was, I was crying. I was like, oh, that's just sad
Yeah.
but moving. Yeah, so I know you really want to. There's a lot to talk about with this movie. So yeah, tell us, what is this film, everyone? That changed your
So
perspective.
I know my movie selection is stuck in the 90s, but that's where the movies were at.
That's
This
right.
movie is Simon Birch. Yes.
Simon Birch.
Hollywood Pictures presents Joseph Mazzello, Oliver Platt, David Strathairn, Ian Michael Smith, and Ashley Judd.
Your mother's so sexy that sometimes I forget she's someone's mother.
What if I said the same thing about your mother?
I'd have you committed.
Simon Birch.
Excellent movie.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's about a kid, Simon Birch, him and his best friend. Simon Birch was he was born a little person, often neglected by his family, but he had a best friend. Mm-hmm. And his best friend, Ashley Judd, in the movie. Ashley Judd brought him in like she was his own kid. They best friends.
That's right.
And his best friend never looked at him different. Mm-hmm. And they always had that saying that I was saying to my wife for a while. I know she got tired of me. See you later, alligator. And a wild cracker.
That's right.
But that movie is a touching movie because they were truly good friends.
Mm.
And the one thing about Simon Birch, he knew that he was a little person, and he was born with a disadvantage, but he never was down. He always laughed. It seemed like he always laughed. Even when his family was treating him wrong, he always laughed.
Yep.
And he knew that God had him here for a purpose.
That's right. Yep.
And in that movie, I'm telling you, you watch it, just have some tissue.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a guy and you don't like crying in front of people, just get ready to get up and just walk away and go in the restroom or something.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it's a good movie.
It is. If it doesn't make you shed a tear, then then there's something wrong, I think. Yeah, absolutely. It's because there's so many parts of the film we can relate to about being a kid, experiencing the death of a family member, the death of a friend, yes. Being different, being picked on, being left out, all these sort of things that we all experience in some way are captured in this movie. So yeah, it definitely tugs at the heartstrings and all of that. So I believe it's set in the 1960s in some like small, maybe some New England town in America. And these two boys are best friends, Joe and Simon, and Joe sort of looks after Simon. They go everywhere together. They do everything together. And, they're just sort of living their life and having fun and being boys and mucking around and that sort of thing. And then tragedy strikes. We're not going to say, again, Charles and I discussed this before. We're not going to spoil this movie for anybody. You need to watch it. It wasn't spoiled
Yes.
for me when I watched it the other night, so we're not going to spoil it for anybody here. Anybody
Yes.
watching, no spoilers in the comments, please. So yeah, tragedy strikes, right? And then it changes the friendship, doesn't it?
Yes, it changed it. It changed it quick. Oh man.
Yeah.
And just think about it. It'll get you if you just sit there and think about the movie a little bit.
Yeah.
But they had a real good friendship. It was just sad though. Just hearing his voice when when stuff went on, that's what really started some of the waterfalls right there.
Yeah, that's right.
I was like, oh man, come on, Simon.
Yeah. And the little kid who played Simon, a brilliant performance. And the actor that played him, I think he only ever did this one movie. I was looking up his profile on IMDb. Yeah.
Yeah, he did. I think this was the only movie he did.
Yep, I believe
Because
so.
I had Google, because you know what? I had went on Prime trying to see if I could find the movie, and I don't think they streamed it on Prime.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I had a hard time finding it as well, but I was able to buy a copy of it, so that was good. A little bit of searching, but I found it. It's not a easy film to find, unfortunately. So, but if you can find it, definitely get your hands on a copy and watch it.
Yes.
And one of the big themes in the film, obviously, we talked about the friendship between the two boys and how that changes and how they do everything together. But really, the big theme of the film, which Simon talks about, is that he's here for a purpose. God has this plan for him. He has this sort of destiny. So can you talk a little bit about that? How the film sort of approaches that topic, and what does it mean for Simon?
So, you know what, Simon? Okay, he knew, and the crazy thing is, he was saying that throughout the movie that God had a plan for him. Because I remember when he was talking, he was saying, and he knew that he was born different. And oh man, I'm just thinking about the movie now.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna spoil anything, but the scene in the movie that really got me is that when the kids usually, they won't listen to him, and he knew. It's like he knew it was his time to shine right now. And everybody sat there and listened to this kid. Oh man, this movie, man, this
yeah.
That's what got me right there.
It gets past your defenses, doesn't it? It's
Yes, man. That movie is
that
yeah.
It's hard it's hard not to speak about certain points of the movie, but there's this one line I think that Simon says. It's early on in the film, and the two boys are walking along somewhere, and Simon keeps saying, "Yeah, God has a plan for me. I have a destiny. I'm going to be a hero." And then his friend Joe, who's supportive but a bit skeptical, is like, "Oh,
yeah.
Where's your proof?" And then Simon says, "I don't need proof because I have faith." Did you catch that line?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, that's such a profound thing for a kid to say. I don't need proof because I have faith.
And man,
yeah, like
that movie.
How could that help us? How do you think that could help us in life? Like just having faith that strong. Like, is that something you aspire to? Something that you try to live by?
Yes. A lot of times, you know what, we can go through a lot of stuff that'll get us down. I mean, life gonna keep going on, and we get the smallest thing can mess us up when we have a positive attitude or stuff like that. Stuff gonna keep going on, but you have to believe that it's gonna get better and believe in God. I'm telling you, because me and my wife, we've been together for 27 years. So you go through a lot, you go through the struggles of financial struggles and everything. And sometimes I even get down, and my wife be like, "Look, come on, God got us." And I got to get back, like, yo, let me get focused.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you got to remember that he's not going to put too much on us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're going to make it through. And then you realize, like, yo, I was stressing this over nothing. I know this man got my, he has me.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of times if I feel myself going through stuff, and I ain't trying to get preachy or nothing, but I just stop and I'd be like, "Look, God, I'm putting it in your hands," and that's it. And I'm leaving it alone after that.
That's it. That's it. Like, because we can all. What I've learned as well, and this film's a great reminder of it, that like you can have these plans in life and you can have these goals, but then stuff just happens in life that comes out of nowhere. Tragedy, hardship, relationships changing, breaking down, getting sick, whatever it might be. We've all been through it, personally or
Yes.
someone close to us. And then, but it all eventually it comes to pass. These things happen, but then you do get through it. I think, but the reminder of this film, I think, is that life is going to throw stuff at you, and you've got to be able to adapt and roll with the punches. And I think it really shows the power of family and the power of friendship. The friendship between these two boys is like they'll get through anything together. If they
Yes.
stick together, they'll be fine.
Even when the stuff happened between them, they still end up finding a way to be strong together.
Yep. That's right.
That does it.
Yeah.
That's it. Whoever's looking at this, you need to find Simon Birch and look at this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Have your tissue beside you. I'm telling you.
Yes, 100%. I couldn't agree more. Like, I was watching it the other night, and I like to watch movies by myself, and I was watching it by myself. My wife had gone to bed, and yeah, I was a mess. I was crying, and I went to bed and I was just lying there thinking about it for ages afterwards. And it's a sad film, like from the opening scene that what happens to one of the characters, without us giving too much away. But I do have to mention that there is a very funny scene in this film as well that I was laughing my head off. And like I said, I was watching this late at night and I was worried I was going to wake up my wife and daughters. And it's the scene where they're doing the nativity scene as the play, the Christmas play, all the kids on stage.
Yes.
Walk us through that scene, because like we can talk a little bit about that. That was hilarious. So.
Is that the scene when the girl leaned over on him?
Yep.
And he grabbed her and yes.
That's right. And then just chaos ensues, right?
And people thought it was fun. But another scene that really had me laughing too is when the mom was giving labor and she sneezed.
Yep. And he just pops out.
Yeah, that was like, yo, for real.
Because he's so small. It's like, oh, okay. Right, there you go. Congratulations. You've got a baby. Yeah. That's right.
It has some scenes in there, you can sit back and just laugh at, and
absolutely
some scenes that'll make you sit back and think. It's an excellent movie.
It is. Yeah, it's a real slice of life, isn't it? That there's all these sad elements and things that are hard, but then like these things happen that just make us laugh as well. It's about kind of having that balance, isn't it? Being able to find the humor
and it's some true friendship. It's a movie about some true friendship. And you don't even see that in too many movies nowadays. Now, anyway,
no.
You don't see that.
They like they say, they don't make them like they used to, right? Like what was the last film to come out really about two kids and with a special friendship? There was a lot of movies like that in the 90s. Like other ones that come to mind, My Girl, which is another sad one.
Yes.
You had there was a whole bunch of films like this in the 90s. And another one, about childhood friendship and death, the Bridge to Terabithia, which is based on a famous book, and they've finally made a movie of that in 2003, I think it was. So another film that came to mind when I was watching this. But yeah, they just don't make them like this anymore. Like, it seems to me all the films they make for kids today are just kind of animated films, right?
Yeah.
Where's all the live action
karate or something?
Yeah, absolutely. And you've mentioned you've got two sons who are in their 20s now. Have you shown Simon Birch to them? Have they seen it?
No, my youngest son, he doesn't watch TV. He's a YouTuber. That's it.
Fair enough.
My oldest son, he goes to the university here, is a film university, because he's going for director.
Cool.
Directing. So he goes there and he watches new movies, but he watches a lot of older movies like 12 Angry Men.
Oh yeah.
Vertigo.
Oh, okay, yeah. So he's kind of studying all the masters, yeah.
like the old Dracula, the black and white, the silent film. He looks at that. He looks at a lot of older movies.
Yeah.
The younger son, he's more into YouTube, and he's trying to get his clothing brand off the line. He's trying to start that up.
Oh, cool.
So I just support where I can.
Yep.
And keep them positive. As long as they stand on the right track, that's all I can add. That's all I can do.
Yeah, sounds like they've got their heads screwed on, so good job.
Yes, thank you.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, just coming back to this film again briefly, it's a movie that's about life, it's about death, relationships, friendships, and it's a surprising film. There's a few scenes in this I was not expecting. Some directions it went in I just was not expecting, and characters do things which you don't expect them to do. They either hang around or they do things you wouldn't expect them to do for being in that position. I'm trying to be as vague as possible here, but it's hard, isn't it? But when you watch the film, and I'm sure you would agree, like it's you sort of know where it's headed, where the ending is headed, but how it gets there that's the main part. It's the journey of these characters, and how little Simon steps up is that got me as well. I'm like, oh, gosh, like don't do this to me. I'm already an emotional.
I'm telling you, when me and my wife sat down and watched this movie, because she really don't like watching movies with me, but she like I mentioned to you about horror movies, but I chose this movie. I said, look, let's just watch it. After I looked at the trailer, I said, look, let's do it. We had rented the movie, and next thing you know, I heard that sniffling, and she was over there just crying. She couldn't stop. I had to hold mine in until I got away from her.
Yeah, that's it. And it's good to watch films like that. Every now and then I think you need to watch a sad film like this, because to feel these things and talk about them afterwards as well. And it is a film that you can really talk about with someone, and for someone else who's seen it, you can go and talk about all the things that we haven't talked about because we don't want to ruin it for people. But it's a film that definitely needs to be seen for sure. I agree with you. So thank you for introducing me to it and bringing it to My Movie Story.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you for talking to me about the movie.
Yeah, my pleasure. No, it's been great, Charles. Yeah, and we've covered your 3 films now, and like I said, you've really spoken about these films with a lot of passion and enthusiasm. And for anyone who hasn't seen Simon Birch, I think now you'll go and see it. You've got Charles's recommendation, so definitely go and check it out. Pulp Fiction and Usual Suspects. If you haven't seen them, where have you been? Have you been living under a rock? What's going on, people? Come on, you get out there and watch these movies, right? And again, thank you, Charles, for being such a great guest and coming on My Movie Story and sharing your movies with us. And all the best with your business as well. And I hope it all takes off for you. And we might see you back here in Halloween for a horror movie special. We were talking about that before, so I know you like horror movies, and so do I.
Yes,
so we'll sort that out. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, thank you, mate. Thank you for being on the show. It's been a pleasure to have you.
And it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Okay, thanks. Take care.
All right, now. You have a good one.
Thanks for tuning in to My Movie Story. We hope you enjoyed today's episode with our special guest and the movies that we talked about. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on Spotify or your favorite podcast platform. Your support means a lot to us. You can also stay connected with us on social media for all the latest updates and special content, and you'll find our page on Facebook. Until next time, take care and enjoy the movies. See you on the next episode.
And like that,